Hello and welcome to another video from Between the Ropes TV. Guys, tonight I'm going to talk to you about the upcoming fight on Saturday night at Wembley Arena at light heavyweight between Anthony Yarde and Artur Beterbiev for the WBC, WBO and IBF light heavyweight belts held by Artur Beterbiev. This is going to be a shootout, guys. This is going to be an absolute war. This is the type of fight that throwback boxing fans would have said, you don't need a ring, you just need to put these two guys in a phone booth. That's not to depreciate the skill or the boxing ring generalship of both fighters, not at all. This is just to tell you how explosive this fight is going to be. There's going to be a knockout in this fight. There's definitely going to be a knockout in this fight. Potentially, both guys could go down. It's going to be that kind of fight. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really anticipating this is going to be epic. And I'm going to break it down like this. I mean, a lot of people, a lot of well-respected people are giving Anthony Yarde a lot of props for this fight. They really are. They're thinking he can do it. Personally, I don't think he can. I believe Artur Beterbiev will win this fight, and I think he'll stop Anthony Yarde. Not for the want of Anthony Yarde trying. I just think Anthony Yarde perhaps hasn't had those build-up fights to get that experience before fighting somebody of the caliber of Artur Beterbiev. I don't think he's had that frequently. I don't think he's been built up gradually. I think what's happened with Anthony Yarde is he's fought opponents levels below him, if I'm being honest. He got thrown in against Sergey Kovalev, was getting beaten quite handily by Sergey Kovalev. He had a good 9th round, and then he got stopped. He got dropped by a jab and pretty much got stopped by a jab. He was that exhausted. So that just tells you their levels. He was up against a Kovalev, in my opinion, who was showing a far more wear and tear than a 38-year-old Artur Beterbiev. That's quite scary. If you look at Anthony Yarde's resume, I don't think he's faced anyone aside from Sergey Kovalev that's in the same mold as Artur Beterbiev. Had Frank Warren showed a little bit more confidence and risked him against a Callum Johnson, perhaps I may have a different opinion on how Anthony Yarde would fare on Saturday night, but that hasn't happened. He hasn't had that test against the likes of a Marcus Brown or a Joe Smith Jr. Where you look at who Artur Beterbiev's fought, he's fought Gavokic for the WBC and the IBF. That was a unification fight. He fought Marcus Brown, Joe Smith Jr. and Callum Johnson. To be fair, Callum Johnson put him down. Callum Johnson is no joke. In my opinion, Callum Johnson would have been dangerous if he was managed and promoted properly. My worry is Anthony Yarde. What has he learned from? What have we really learned from those fights? When he's fought the likes of Dex Spellman, Lyndon Arthur, Stefani Koikov, those type of guys. I mean, what's he actually learned to tell us about how he's going to fare against another Beterbiev? In the second fight against Lyndon Arthur, we realised that actually he can put some punches together. He can stand in the pocket, and he can drag somebody into a wall. Beterbiev, he's faced a lot of what Anthony Yarde could bring before. Look at the fight against Joe Smith Jr. Look at the fact that Joe Smith Jr. tried to drag him into the wall. And look at the fact how Artur Beterbiev is really, really deceiving in terms of how he uses his feet to close down the range. Make sure he's always in range, but still manages to avoid getting hit. Make sure that aggression that he shows is so effective, and put people on the back foot. Artur Beterbiev does that brilliantly. It's almost Golovkin-like. People talk about European fighters, and it really annoys me when particularly guys from the States say that, oh, he's just a typical stiff European guy. Stand upright, boxes behind a decent jab, moves in circles, that kind of thing. Beterbiev's clever in that. He really is. Yes, he's upright and he has got a very stiff jab. but the way he positions his feet means he's always on balance, always on balance. He's never off balance. He's always in front of his opponent, but he's far enough back so his opponent's out of range, but he's in range. And that's how he nullifies the aggressiveness of his opponent. So when he fought somebody like Joe Smith Jr. wasn't able to impose his game plan on Artur Beterbiev. Yeah, Artur Beterbiev does like a bit of a war, but he's got the skill to make sure actually he's not getting tagged that much. So when I look at what Anthony Yarde can bring, quite similarly to what Joe Smith Jr. was relying on, he dealt with that effectively. And we know he got Joe Smith Jr. out of there in the second round. Against Marcus Brown, that was a tricky one because Marcus Brown, he had good boxing skill. He was moving around the ring nice. He's got a pretty good job, good footwork. And again, he cut off the ring. People was saying, "Oh, Artur Beterbiev can't cut off the ring. He's going to be too slow, too flat-footed." He cuts off the ring really well. So if Anthony Yarde's going to be using angles, Artur Beterbiev can cut off the ring and kind of keep him in the same place. And that's what you don't want to be doing against Artur Beterbiev. You don't want to be stationary and you don't want to be against the ropes. Because Beterbiev, he's got that type of power where when he hits you, you stay hit. So we're going to be seeing a lot of movement from Anthony Yarde, a lot of lateral body movement, a lot of upper body movement as well. My concern with that is when I look at the Kovalev fight, he got exhausted relatively quickly. I mean, he was absolutely spent by the 10th round, hence he got put down by the jab. My concern is because he's going to be moving a lot in this fight, that hugely muscular build, how's that going to cope? How's he going to manage? He's never had to do that in a fight since Kovalev. So how do we know how well he's progressed in doing that? We don't. So what I'm trying to say here is there's a lot of question marks still on Anthony Yarde. When we go back to that Kovalev fight, I don't think, well, this is my opinion, that's why I'm giving it, I could be wrong. I don't think I've learned a lot from the Anthony Yarde defeat to Kovalev. I don't think we've learned a lot, guys. I really don't. But with Artur Beterbiev, you know, you put him in with a boxer and you can show he can cut the ring off, break him down to the body, stop them late on. You show that if you get somebody that just wants to go to war with him, go toe to toe, it gets him out of there early. So you show that actually he's not just a come forward puncher. He's quite an educated fighter, educated aggression. I favour that boxing style. We all know this on this channel, but I love educated aggression. I love people that show ring generalship because I think it's a fantastic trait to have, and that's what the judges like. So all that being said, people talk about Artur Beterbiev's age as well. 38. He's not an old 38. And I think people say, well, what do you mean by that? He hasn't been in that many wars. He hasn't got that much wear and tear. Not the same type of wear and tear as what Kovalev had. You know, if you look at Beterbiev's resume, he's not been in any. He's not really been in any sort of difficult fights. Yeah, he's been put down a bit earlier on in his career, but you know, if you look at his resume, he's always gone on to win, and he's. I mean, we're talking about somebody that's 18 wins, 18 stoppages, so he's always found a way to get that win. I'm not quite sure his age is going to be having an impact on him much as what people say. Whereas when Anthony Yarde had fought Kovalev, you know, Kovalev had already been in some draining fights with Alvarez. He had already had those difficult fights with Andre Ward. You know, he had been 12 rounds with Chilemba, that kind of stuff. So, you know, we're not seeing that from Artur Beterbiev, because Artur Beterbiev's he's never been in war. So I still see him as being very, very fresh in this fight. So as always, I am intrigued to see how Anthony Yarde gets on. I think this is going to be This is going to be a great fight. But most importantly for me, it's not on pay-per-view. Guys, Josh and I did a video earlier on about the big fights in the UK now, particularly those domestic fights becoming pay-per-view. I'm so glad, and props to Frank Warren for not putting this on as pay-per-view. Well, the undercard isn't the best, but still, you could argue that if Liam Smith, Chris Eubank was pay-per-view, Artur Beterbiev is pound for pound fighter, there's an argument for making this pay-per-view. I'm not saying I would have it as pay-per-view, completely not. But props to Frank Warren. You never thought you would hear that on this channel. But guys, if you disagree with me, fair enough. Let me know, and let me know your thoughts in the comment section. As ever, we'll be live next Monday. And there's plenty more content on the channel still to come. So stay tuned, guys. See you on the next one.